Hello. Thank you for joining us for our BNI San Diego podcast. We're back again, live. I guess it's live.
Yeah,
live.
Taped in front of a live studio audience.
Audience.
There's no one here.
How's it going? Oh, okay. Well, our audience doesn't know that until now. Thank you. So our topic today, I'm really excited about our topic today because it's something that we're seeing our seasoned members, our new members missing the boat in. Our topic is the value of updating your one-to-one worksheet every 90 days. 90 days, pretty much every quarter, right?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one. I've actually seen this done really right or really wrong.
So before we get into the actual topic of it, for our listeners that are not aware of what's a one-to-one planner or what's a one-to-one worksheet, let's kind of just go over real quick what that is.
Who's old enough to remember us calling it a dance card?
Oh.
Who even knows what a dance card is?
Whoa, that brings back memories.
Who knows what a dance card is? If you are a BNI member and you know what the dance card is in social life is, I want you to comment and tell us if you do or not.
We might have some people that were born in the 40s and 50s.
That's what I'm saying. If you're in BNI and you know what an actual dance card is and you had ever gone to a function where you had a dance card, I would love to. I'm fascinated by that kind of stuff.
That's awesome.
I would love to know. That would also mean you admitting it. But thank you for entertaining me. Now, those of you who have been BNI a long time and you know what the dance card is, it's what we call our one-to-one worksheets. Yeah. So this is our one-to-one planner, as it's been called now, and this is the set of forms that we fill out in advance and exchange with each other in advance prior to meeting in person. Yeah. Now, I know that some people want to substitute this activity for, well, let's just meet and have coffee, like I do with everyone else in the general business space. I'm going to come back to that because I have a very firm comment to make about that. But what the best practice here is to adequately and fully fill out the one-to-one planner to best educate and train your fellow member on how they could be thinking about you and referring you based on you feeding a lot of knowledge and wisdom into them to know how to refer you, what to listen for, what to look for, and then what to do.
Well, it's almost like, let's set BNI aside for just a second. When you're going in to meet a new client, do you do research ahead of time?
Absolutely.
On them, their company, why do you do that?
Well, because you want to sound like you prepared, first of all.
Yeah.
But you also don't ever want to be in a position where you're just flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
If you're expecting them to hire you, especially if you do a high value type of job where you're going to make a couple thousand or tens of thousands of dollars, it might be expected that you're going to do a little bit of legwork in advance to be ready. And I know that if I'm on the opposite side of that conversation and someone's trying to get me to trust them with my money to do the thing, like show me you know what you're talking about and not just that you can like shoot from the hip and wing it. Yeah. Because here's the deal. There's very few situations where winging it is what I'm hiring you to do. That's just the best way I can describe it bluntly and hopefully as unoffensively as possible. But there's very rarely a situation where I'm hiring someone to wing it.
Correct. Yeah, and so what this one-to-one planner does, or worksheets, a set of worksheets, is it allows you to share a little bit about yourself, get it over to your referral partner ahead of time so that they can actually look through the sheets and not only gain a little bit of knowledge about you, but what types of clients that you're looking for. Where can I find commonality? When I came into BNI, I came in as an auto broker. So I, met with clients and we're, building rapport. And one of my goals was, before we ever touched a car, my goal was to find an area of commonality. Well, what some of these worksheets do is, do you remember what GAIN stands for?
Goals, accomplishments, interests, network, and skills. Oh, sorry. Yes, I do remember.
Why would we put those things in there?
They're really easy things to remember if you don't have those things in common. But often what happens is you have something shared or similar with somebody in one of those things.
So true.
Or someone close to you does. Oh, you got this award from the so-and-so club.
Yep.
My friend down the street got that same thing or whatever. Or I had that same accolade at some point in my life. Oh, you're interested in cooking and you have your own YouTube you cooking channel? Me too. Like, what did you know? You don't know. Look, sorry, sidebar, but not sidebar. As part of like a one-to-one, you're going to learn things about your members you didn't know.
Yeah.
Because you're not talking about it in open networking. They're not standing during their weekly presentation to doing their ask and saying, oh, by the way, da-da-da. That's not happening. By doing the Partners in Excellence show here, that for my own chapter, I have members that I've known for 15 years,
and you're just learning
and they're
new things.
Still telling me something I've never heard before.
Ramses. I love the Ramses story.
Oh gosh, that was hilarious. Yeah, for those of you who don't know,
I think
Ramses,
I watched it a few, just that portion.
Just that one part?
Yeah.
Ramses, he had initially registered for the BNI San Diego for BNI Partners in Excellence using the email address that he had also been using for his dating profile when he was trying to find a wife. It was hilarious. But, I'm going to tell you something that's important too. On the sensitive side is, I had a member recently who told me that for the last 14 years of his mother's life, she was paralyzed.
Whoa.
I didn't know that. I've known this person for 15 years. I've done probably a dozen or more one-to-ones with this person during that time. And the conversation came up in a format like this, and it was, after my mom's accident, I was like, wait, what do you mean your mom's accident? Oh, yeah, in 2000, she got in a car accident, and she was quadriplegic for the last 14 years of life. I was like, what? I've known you this whole time.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's not a goals, accomplishments, interest, network, or skills. But it's one of those things where you go, hold on, I didn't know that about you. And these conversations with depth can foster some of those things where I have a greater understanding of why this member is that member now, because that's a big piece of his life that has influenced the way he does things now and why he does some of the things he does. And it made so much sense when he told me that, but it's because those conversations came up.
Well, and what happens is when you learn those things, when you learn whether it's commonality or something like that, it actually makes you want to lean in a little bit more, right? You want to go that extra mile to help them reach their goals. And that's the beauty of getting to know a little bit more about, that's only one of the 5 sheets.
So those of you who, we kind of like we started weaving in and out of this topic real quick, but for those of you who are like, wait, what do you mean you're supposed to fill it out and send it in advance? If you are in front of your computer or your your phone right now and you're in a place where you can look up the one-to-one worksheet, you'll notice it's 8 sheets technically. There's the ones we fill out, but the 8th page on the PDF is the steps of an effective one-to-one. And one of those steps is to complete your one-to-one worksheets and then send it to the other member in advance, bring it with you. Now, what I've done in the past and what I have done to try to train other members is I want you to send my one-to-one, so I make sure I go first. Mm-hmm. And I go first because I don't want to rely on their preparedness to determine my preparedness.
Ooh.
Okay? Now, this is not an insult. This is not me calling people out or laying heavy-handed accountability. This is me saying I am not willing to let you determine whether I'm prepared or not. So your preparation does not determine my preparation. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. Now, this challenge actually came from the Wayback Machine when I was a director. I was challenged to do as many one-to-ones as possible, and in that year I did 153.
Whoa.
And only 2 of those someone else asked for.
So you initiated
for the one,
all those.
Absolutely. Yes. And what I learned was, and this came directly from Ivan, don't wait for other people to determine that you're important to meet with.
Whoa, wait. Repeat that one again.
Don't wait for other people to determine that you're important to meet with. So out of the 153, I think I just said, 2 of those were initiated by somebody else.
Oh, wow.
I initiated all the other ones. So in the one-to-one worksheet exchange, I initiate it. So if I'm going to meet with you next week, Ed, I'm sending it to you in advance. I'm saying, hey, here's my one-to-one worksheets. Please print this out. Make any of your notes. Send me yours. I'll be coming to this meeting with my questions. Because the first time I read your one-to-one is before we even meet. We are not going to sit and have a one-to-one, and I'm looking at your worksheets for the first time. I don't. That's not a standard that I operate at.
Again, I always like to refer it back to if you're meeting with your client, right, for the first time, for the second time, what you just said is so incredibly important.
Yeah.
Because you never want to be in front of your client or an existing client or a potential client, whatever it is, and be unprepared. So that knowing ahead of time, going through, knowing what questions, this particular topic I'm going to dive into a little bit, it gives you time to really to really dive in. But what does it tell the other person about you when you're beginning to talk about things that they wrote.
You're already invested in whatever it is that you're doing. You're getting chosen, getting hired, working together, partnering, whatever you're going to distill it to be. You're invested and you put some work into it already. And
this is how I'm going to be every step of the way when I'm working for you or with you.
Kind of how you do one thing is how you do all things kind of deal.
Yeah.
And again, I even have my own little, pickiness with that. Sometimes that's true. Sometimes that's not.
Well, sometimes it's how you do one thing is how you do one thing.
Right. That's exactly the point. I don't take this entire set when I go do social media content at the bar or the brewery or whatever. Like that's not happening. But the standard at which I'm going to execute will be the same.
Absolutely.
So in that case, it is, right? So it is and it isn't. But the point in the one-to-one worksheets is really to give yourself the best advantage to coach, teach, and train and guide your fellow members to think about the types of referrals that are good for you, the relationships that are best for you to have, and for you to teach them. A lot of this is illustrative, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, can I talk about that for a minute?
Please.
So a lot of this is illustrative in the sense that, people go, oh, I don't know what to say about myself, or I'm not sure what my greatest accomplishment is, and this, that. Ask somebody else. If you don't know, ask a fellow chapter member to remind you, hey, what's something I'm really good at? What's one of the skills you would say about me, right? This is the one that happens a lot. Oh, my skills. I type 60 words a minute. I know how to use Excel. It's like the weakest job resume you can come up with. Don't put that stuff. Put the stuff that sets you apart from like your competitors, or maybe there's something that's unique about it, a skill that you're unique at. Like you're the best listener I've ever met. Really? I didn't know that, but that's what people think. Okay.
And I love how you put it. Ask your fellow referral partners for their observations.
Yeah.
Because we see ourselves in the mirror all the time. We know what we look like. We know, but getting it from somebody else's perspective, I think highlights things that you would have never even thought about.
Let me give you an example, and this is a personal one to me, but it's, I think I still have a lot of room to grow in my presentation skills.
Okay.
But everyone tells me,
you're
one of the best presenters I've ever seen. Like, I don't think that.
Yeah.
So just because I don't think that doesn't necessarily mean it's true, but I still have things I want to work on, right? But it's still listed as one of my skills. Okay, I'm comfortable presenting in front of people. And for everyone, that's not true. The point you mentioned that is that if you ever find yourself at a roadblock or a blockade in how to fill out your one-to-one worksheets, ask for help from the people you trust in your chapter. What would you guys say about this? Or what would you say about that? What is it worth me mentioning that I like riding horses? Is that an interest that people care about? Yeah, absolutely. It could be that you coach Little League, or that you have, you go to a pottery class with your daughter, or, you're a ballerina dad. I mean, we have a former member who, like, his daughter is an amazing performer who is like a sought after dancer and theatrical performer and singer, at the same time that his sons are these like state level wrestling champs. So, like his network is like wrestling, ballet, and San Diego theater, and not at the same time. That'd actually probably be a cool show. Never mind. The point in me bringing that up is that other people might be able to weigh in a kind and loving way, and in a way that illustrates to you what kinds of things you can include. And I'm going to go back to that illustrative point. I typically find people having difficulty in writing out what their best customers are. They go, oh, I can't tell you who my customers are. I can't, for compliance, legal reasons, or HIPAA, whatever it is.
Absolutely.
I don't need you to tell me the client.
No.
Give me the circumstances.
Yes.
Give me the reason why they came to you. And I know we have like a whole separate topic about this with challenging classifications that we're going to do in another episode. But in this one, specifically go to the page that says your best customer worksheet. And note, it doesn't say
your
last.
10 best customers.
It used to say 10 last, but some of my last customers aren't my best. You know what I mean, Ed? Ed? No, I'm just kidding. The point about being your best customers is to illustrate and paint a picture of who are your best clients and why. Think of it like Ed and I sitting across from each other, and I have to describe to him how to take a brush to canvas and paint the painting that I'm looking at here on my iPad. If I had to describe to you what to paint over here, and I can't see how he's painting it, how would I describe that to you? That's how I look at this part of the worksheet and go, what did I do for these people? What was their problem? How do we help them overcome it? So that the chapter member I'm meeting with knows if they're in a similar situation and go, oh my gosh, that's on Andy's worksheet. Yep. I need to make it easy for my chapter member to notice when they're standing in the middle of a crime scene with all this evidence laying around them.
Well said. Well said.
Except for like the crime part.
Yeah, well, and the idea that, if if people have to work at getting us a referral, you're probably not going to get a referral, right? So this sheet allows us, it makes things easier. It actually, especially those 10 best clients, makes it easier for you to identify on paper what to look for, so that when they're meeting with a client, as you said, or they're doing something and they see it and they go, oh my gosh, there's a potential referral for Andy.
Yeah. Yeah. And can I make another point about the page right before that, which is the contact sphere worksheet? Yep. So many years ago, when I had a different classification in BNI in my very first years. Yeah.
Pause real quick.
Yeah.
What, again, we have BNI members that are listening to this, and we'll probably have some that are not as familiar with our BNI lingo.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
What's a contact sphere?
So contact sphere are people that are in and around your actual industry that are good referral partners for you, or other unrelated industries that have the same client that you might, that you may not think are a referral for you, but are.
And don't overlap with you.
Yeah. Yeah, and I know, and there are several instances here even in BNI San Diego where there is like a direct industry overlap, but there's a specialization difference.
There we go.
I'm one of them. I mean, there's a lot of videographers and photographers in BNI, and you're like, oh, well, don't you all have cameras? Yeah, we all have cameras. It's not about having the cameras. It's what you do with those cameras, right? Yeah. For example, I'm never going to shoot a wedding, guys, unless the wedding is right here and they're in this room. I'm not shooting the wedding. But that means I have a referral opportunity for someone else who also has a camera that loves weddings but doesn't have a podcast studio. Okay? Yes. Perfect example. So I want to talk about the context sphere, because this is where I think there's a lot of value that goes overlooked or misunderstood. So can I just go with it?
Please, go.
All right. So you put your profession and business at the top, and then you have related professions, and then you have below that the 3 professions that would help you round out your context sphere. Yep. So I'm gonna ask you to do 2 things. So you want to think inside the box, and I want you to think outside the box. What are the most obvious things that are good referrals for you? Whatever your career and classification is, what are the most obvious classifications that are easy for those people to refer you? So if you are a realtor and you get referrals from loan officers, or from the trust and estate attorney, or from the divorce attorney in the case of a divorce sale, those are like some of the inside the box, super easy ones. Here's a not so easy one. The hairdresser.
Ooh.
Like people go, I know that's super ironic. I hate to use the example because like I'm sure there's someone like pointing and laughing like that guy doesn't even have hair. What's he talking about? There are people who are constantly talking to others with open ears about what's going on in their life. Yeah. And they can be good referral sources for lots of people.
Oh my gosh.
But as an example, your life is changing, you're getting your hair done, you're chit-chatting, you're just going through, whether you're going deep or you're just staying shallow, people tend to drop, hey, this is what's happened in my life. Yeah, work's been crazy.
With your hairstylist? I gotta move. Or your bartender. Well, the other one is the bartender, right?
Bartender.
Whatever it is, it's those moments where you're sitting having a conversation. Yeah. You're at a spot for a period of time, and things just come up.
Now, so there's the inside the box. It's kind of like the super obvious stuff. Then there's kind of like that, like I'll say fringe or things that you would not even think are good referral partners for you. And so, one of my like substitute ways of coming up with this in my past career was a type of person, not their profession, but the type of person. And I called them conversation stoppers. And here's what that is. So now on the worksheet, I want to make very clear. On the worksheet, it says what 3 professions would help you round out your contact sphere, meaning people you want in your contact sphere to refer you, but you don't yet have in your stable. Okay. I had several members whose clients would never, ever be my clients. This is back when I did mortgage back in 2009, 10, 11, whatever. But I had members who knew and liked and trusted me so much that they would stop dinner conversations to tell other people about referring me if they heard the mention of I want to buy a house or I need to save money on my mortgage. I had several members, I'll name 2 of them. One was Alex Doria, one was Laura Talamantes, and they were my conversation stoppers. Laura did immigration law. I couldn't even help her clients. There was not a single one of her clients that I could ever do a loan for, and she would literally stop conversations like, you need to call Andy. So here I am, this mortgage guy, this mortgage snot-nosed kid in my late 20s, early 30s, and our immigration attorney was stopping conversations. Now, at the time, Alex was working for an auto collision business. He's not seeing people that are there to talk about their real estate.
Yeah,
they're like, my car's messed up. I need a rental. How long is it going to take?
Yeah, where's the auto mechanic? Where's the,
Right, but for some reason, but he's just really likable, and people would talk to him. And they're at the counter. They're in the middle of the situation in their life, and then it just starts gushing out.
Yeah.
And so they're talking, and he'd be a conversation stopper. Oh, you're doing that? You need to call my friend Andy. Like, what? And so it was more of a type of person, not just their classification. Yep. So that's kind of my little asterisk trick, if you will. If you're having a hard time filling out your contact sphere, and there's no other industry, ask your other members which ones they could suggest would be good fill-ins for that. Or I'll say, profile a type of person and build an avatar of what kind of person would be referring you constantly.
And for all of our BNI San Diego listeners, we actually have a worksheet called Build Your Avatar. So the next time you're in your chapter with one of your directors, you see me, ask for that worksheet. It goes over exactly what Andy's talking about.
Now, can I go back and grab the other thing I said I'm going to come back to later?
Yeah.
So oftentimes...
I'm impressed that you remembered it. That's like, I would have forgotten.
Which part? The avatar part?
No, the part. Can I go back when you just asked?
Oh, yeah. You're surprised I remember the thing I said like 20 minutes ago? No, it's because it's really important. And this is where we have a distinct advantage at BNI members in San Diego, is when you go to other networking events or you meet with people one-on-one that are outside of BNI and have no clue what these worksheets are. They have no idea what goals are. They have no idea what accomplishments, interests, networks, the gain stuff.
Yeah.
Guess what I do with those people, Ed? I ask them all those questions.
Same questions. Yeah.
So what are some of your goals in your business and for your life? What kind of accomplishments are you proud of?
It's normal chit chat. It's normal conversation. It's how we get to know people.
I have the one-to-one roadmap in my head.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm meeting with somebody who is not in BNI or who's outside of BNI, but I'm looking to gain trust by that person, or I'm looking to increase opportunities where maybe I could get referred by them, I do the one-to-one worksheets from memory because I'm a nerd. But it helps me, and it will always come across as prepared, interested, valuable, and willing to help, because I'm asking all these questions that are not to qualify them, but to qualify how I can help them. It's whether I understand enough to be able to remember you, to refer you in the moment that I'm finding myself that's about what you talked about. So even the contact sphere, even the best customers, I'm cataloging all that stuff.
So I have a question for you, Andy. You've been in BNI how long?
Since 2009.
How consistently do you use your one-to-one worksheets in your from 2009 to current? How consistently do you use them even now in your one-to-ones?
The honest answer is since 2011. Once I became a director and I really understood the power of the one-to-one and was challenged by my director mentor and Ivan, there was Ivan and Tim, like, you go do this. You don't wait for anybody else to think it's important to meet with you. You go set the appointments. That's when that switch flipped, and it kind of hasn't been turned off. Now, I will also say there are occasions where, because there's something going on that I've learned or heard about or been told about, the one-to-one sheets are kind of over here on the side because there's something else going on that I'm helping listen or guide, and that's mostly just because of my role and my posture and position in BNI. And sometimes I can afford to not even take my part of the time together, and we just talk about the members' success because I want that for them. That makes sense?
Yeah. Well, and the reason I asked that question is, we see a lot of people that are tenured in BNI or new members, and they're seeing what seasoned members do or don't do, and they emulate it. And one of the things that we've seen over the years is, in the beginning, they use the one-to-one planner, and then 6, 9 months, 2 years, 3 years in, it disappears. It goes away. Why is it important? And it goes back to the title of it, right? The value of updating your one-to-one planner every 90 days.
So I have two things I want to say, and I'm going to say this bluntly. You will not and cannot remember everything about everybody forever.
Yep.
Number one, okay? I cannot. Now, the other thing that's part of that is there are things changing in your business that they don't know about because you haven't told them. So unless you have a system or a method that you're emailing all your chapter members on a quarterly basis, monthly basis, they're on your newsletter, your email, or text chain or whatever, and they know about the most recent client change that's now become your best client list, or a new industry classification that's helpful for you to be connected to, unless they know that thing because they just happen to know it, it's your job to tell them.
Yeah.
It's not their job to guess. It's our job to exchange and tell and ask each other. So for that reason, doing your one-to-one worksheet, first of all, using the worksheets is a must. It's a fundamental, do it. I've never seen a situation where bypassing that has been more beneficial than using it.
Well, because what you end up doing is having a chit chat, right? You're just
Yes, but there's something to be said about putting pen to paper.
Yep.
And writing things
very
down.
Intentional. Yeah.
And I'm not going to jump into all the studies and the psychological stuff behind that, but look, the thing is, when I take my pen to paper and I write something down, I'm more likely to remember it.
Yeah.
Now, if I printed that one-to-one worksheet and I keep it in my BNI folder, and I can go back and look at it, or go to me and Ed's one-to-ones before I go to my next one. What did we talk about last time? Let's refresh that. I mean, dude, we haven't even gotten to the part where we talk about having a short-term, long-term goal of referring each other, but that's in the one-to-one worksheets too.
Well, and before we started, as we were prepping for this episode, what did you do? You pulled up your one-to-one planner, but I heard you say something.
Yeah.
What did you tell me?
2023, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4, 2024, quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4.
And what's the advantage of having that?
For me, on the selfish side, I can see the progress of my one-to-one. I can see how things have changed, and I'll say harken back. I don't know why. I never use that word in any other part of my life, but I can harken back and go, wow, look at what's changed from then to now, and also see which things are the same. Sometimes I have to see it with my eyes because my mind is trying to remember so many things all the time, especially these days in business and how much just information overload we have.
Change and everything.
It's to note and communicate and promote the changes while also remembering the things that remain constant, the bread and butter part. And we talk about this, the bread and butter, the referrals, and that kind of novelty fringe or biggest referral kind of ever kind of deal. And sometimes you're going to land that one. And sometimes you're just going to sustain and grow and have scale from the bread and butter ones that, again, you'll see quarter after quarter after quarter after quarter.
Oh, yeah. No, that's it. And something you said a little bit ago, life changes. Life every 3 to 6 months in people's lives.
Yeah.
Whether it's a sick parent, something's going on with our kids, business has changed. I mean, there's constant change going on.
Well, even if you claim to sit here with me on a different show and you're saying, "Oh, my industry doesn't change," policies around your industry change, and then those things downstream change for you at some level. Even if it's minute and it's minuscule, it still changes, and there's ripple effects to all those things. You never throw a rock into a pond and there's no ripple. There's always a ripple. So.
Excuse me.
So as for me, when it comes to one-to-ones, I want to put myself in the best position possible to learn from.
Whoa, hold on. Repeat what you just said.
So as for me and my one-to-ones, I want to put myself in the best position possible.
That's it, right? If you're going to invest your time into something, if you're going to invest your time into meeting with somebody else, you want to do just that.
Look, no one goes to BNI because they just need another meeting to go to. That's not a thing. It's not a thing.
Way too many to do.
I know I'm speaking like super, like you're hanging out in the backyard with Andy over like, barbecue. But like, here's the truth. No one joined BNI because like, I need another meeting in my life.
Yeah.
No, we came with a purpose and an intention to get more referrals by growing in our giving.
Yes.
And then receiving because of that. And so for that purpose, it's like extract as much value of the one-to-one worksheets as you can by being a good teacher to your member of the things you want them to learn. And then be a good student. And listen and ask good questions. Show up prepared and write your questions that you want to have clarified. Well, what does it mean that you did this, that, or the other thing? I don't know what that means. I've never heard of that. Teach me about it. And be curious and be interested in what your fellow member has to teach you during that process.
Curiosity. I love that word, right? Because it keeps us wanting more. It keeps us asking new questions. And it also tells the person we're talking to, when we're constantly curious about them, it tells them that we are thinking of them, that they're important to us. All those elements. Being curious is incredibly important.
So I'm going to look this up right now live, and I'm going to tell you the exact number, okay? I'm going to look up lifetime one-to-ones, and I'm going to tell you something I found out to be true time and time again after all these
are your
years of BNI.
one-to-one.
I'm looking on BNI Connect right now. I'm looking at lifetime one-to-ones, Andy Cruz, lifetime here. Lifetime one-to-ones, 421, okay? 421 one-to-ones. And this is something I know to be true because it's true because it's true. Everyone I've done a one-to-one with is more interesting than they think they are. everyone will say,
love that.
That's not that interesting. No, that's not really that important. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And it's not because I'm trying to make them feel better. I'm like, that actually is interesting. I've had a one-to-one with somebody who I was like, yeah, I really want to go on this vacation at some point. One of my goals is to take my family to Alaska. And, my wife hates the cold, but I want to go to the ice hotel someday. He goes, I've been there. I'm like, what? You've been, and all of a sudden, like, you're the most important person or interesting person in the world. Like, you've been to the ice hotel? Oh yeah, they serve you like the everything is like even the drinks in ice. And I'm like, wait, okay, now I want to talk about that. But to them it was like, yeah, it was just a vacation. But to me, I was like, that's something I really wanted to take my wife and do, and I'm so interested in that. And so people
it takes your relationship now to a new level.
Yeah, it's interesting to me.
So earlier I talked about when I was sharing when I came into BNI and started as an auto broker, and the goal was before we ever touched a car to build commonality. Do you know why I thought that? Do you know why I put that as an important point for me in sales?
I'm guessing it's because you wanted them to trust you, and so they would feel that you had their best interest in mind.
Because exactly, but before that, we were customer, that relationship. The moment we find commonality, we go to a new level. We go to more of a relationship level. So it's now not customer and salesman. It's now friend to friend, something that we've had in common. And the goal was before we ever touched a car was to get to that point because it changes everything.
Yeah. Yeah. The one-to-one worksheets, like honestly, it could be an entire, I know it is an entire advanced training class. Sort of,
yeah.
No, this could be an hour-long conversation.
And it is in one of our mentoring sessions that we talked about a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, so the regional mentoring program does have an entire section about one-to-ones. There's advanced training that has been done on one-to-ones. You can have special director presentations in your chapter meeting for one-to-ones during their visit. But also, here's what I'm going to say. If you have a chapter member in your room that is doing one-to-ones exceptionally, and I mean beyond the power of one number, they're doing 100 every month. Like, no, I'm pretty sure they're not doing it this way 100 times a month. Who are doing it effectively with thoroughness is my qualifier. So whoever's in your chapter that's doing this thoroughly with effectiveness and you need help, go ask them for help. If there is not that person in your chapter, contact Ed. Ed will have you contact one of our directors who can help you go through this in a way that will help you get the maximum output possible of your time together when you commit to the process. Follow the process that's detailed. Guess what? It's not detailed on the last sheet by accident and as a suggestion. It is the recommended best practice. Don't get it confused.
And why?
Because it's worked for decades. It's
Absolutely.
worked for decades. And again, this goes back to that whole centralization thing I talked about on a previous episode where you have a wide range of people trying things created. And sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. But really in the end, you can consolidate that these things just work and they stand the test of time in BNI. And then when you're really good at it in BNI, like I read you my BNI number, my 421 one-to-ones, okay? You know how many I've done outside of that?
Oh.
I actually don't know. But the answer is like hundreds more probably. But I know this like the back of my hand, so I can go and take the same templating and go have any conversation in any business room and know how I can help somebody, or even if I can't, and sometimes that's more important.
Well, and how to engage people in conversations. Like you said, you can, in an outside of BNI way, have that conversation about the gains, right? And because you've done it so much, it's embedded in there. And it also when you're willing to ask questions of people, it tells them that you're interested in them, right? It's not just about, because as salesman, most of the time it's always about me. It's about me getting the sale. I'm gonna again, I was in the automotive industry. Luckily, I came in with an individual who understood the relationship, that it wasn't about the sale that was in front of you. It was about all the sales beyond that point. And that takes relationship. And that's what we're talking about, is building the relationship in a better way.
Yeah.
And being much more intentional with our time. Because let's face it, our time nowadays, right now, in this day and age, even more than ever, our time is incredibly valuable. And we don't want to just go in things half-heartedly. I was going to say something else, but we'll say half-heartedly. Right?
I have a family saying around that. Yeah. Don't half A it, whole A it.
Yeah. I like that.
Don't half A anything. Whole A that thing.
There we go.
Yeah. Maximum intention.
That's it.
Maximum execution.
Okay.
So you tell your kids that? Well, they're older now. So yes, I do.
So along this topic, Andy, one of the things that I love to do with individuals that we're having a conversation is with, do you remember that old TV show Columbo?
Yeah.
And what was Columbo known for?
His quirkiness, you mean?
Well, that element of when he was exiting, but right before he was exiting a room with someone.
Okay, well, I have to admit something to you. I know what Columbo is because my mom watched it, Ed.
Okay.
I was not watching Columbo at like 5. That's just sorry to be that way.
That's right. I'm a little older.
I know what Columbo is because I saw my mom watching Columbo.
Okay.
Remind me.
So there was a point where, and I watched it as a kid with my dad. So I was a kid, but still remember. There was a point where Columbo was getting ready to exit a room, and he turned around and he asked another question, and it usually was a pivotal point in the scene, in the drama, whatever it was. For you, Andy, leaving our listeners with a final thought on the topic of the importance of not only one-to-ones, but the importance of updating your one-to-one worksheet every 60, 90 days, 6 months. What's a final thought that you want to leave with our listeners today?
It's very practical, and it might be a little bit forceful, but here's my final thought. Use every single part of the one-to-one worksheet to your advantage and do it as often as possible. It will not hurt you to change it and update it. It will hurt you to leave old information that is not serving your business anymore.
That includes your bio.
Oh, yeah.
That's
why every part. If you had a birthday since the last time you said, how old you are and how long you've lived in the place and how old your kids are and change all that stuff. Again, leaving stale information is not going to help you. It has to be current.
And it also tells your referral partner that details matter. When, trust me, I've done it. I'm the biggest offender on this, where I have left things on my bio. Like, my one of my daughters is now 18 and it still said she was 13. What is, it's that kind of stuff, right?
Wow. She's like frozen in time, Ed.
Attention to detail, though. It also, again, people are always watching. How we do one thing is
how you do everything,
right? And if we're leaving those details and we're not updating them, that also tells our referral partner, if he's doing it this way with something that's this important, how is he going to be with the client that I refer him over to?
Yep. Yeah. This topic I could honestly talk with anybody about at length.
Oh yeah.
And I'm willing to do that too, because I've helped a lot of members figure out how to make this successful for them. Not being because it's me, it's because we can unlock the thing that they didn't know was locked up that could be on their worksheets and helping them get more referrals.
Yeah, absolutely. Andy, thank you for joining me. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed our conversation today. I always enjoy having Andy Cruz on the show with us. Again, thank you for joining us. We look forward to having you back with us next week with another fantastic topic, guest, all of it. And then Andy and I will be back together soon. Thank you again and have a great day.
This episode of the BNI San Diego Podcast has been brought to you by Cruz Productions, a San Diego-based video production company and proud BNI member. You can find us at the intersection where business and creativity meet, or online at cruzproductionsinc.com.